Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. If you've already subscribed to our channel, thank you very much. If you haven't, please do. And when you do, be sure and tap on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we put up a new video. Also, if you tap the little like button, we like that too. Thank you very much. In the last couple videos, I've been messing with this bike and I just keep going around it and looking at things because really she runs quite well and she's been sitting, and I just got her fired up and running again in the last couple videos. And I was out here in the shop looking at her and I says, I haven't really lubed that clutch pedal lately. I did talk about it, but I didn't do it. So I think I'm going to do that today. I'm going to service this clutch pedal, and I'm going to look at my belt drive. Now, I took the screws out of this cover so I could speed things up a little bit. There's only one screw holding it on right now. But anyway, what I want to do, like I said, is lube the clutch pedal. Now, first off, let's discuss what this clutch pedal is. This is not a suicide pedal. This is a foot clutch, commonly referred to as a treadle clutch or a rocker clutch. Okay, this disengages the clutch, and this engages it again. Now we're taking off down the road. Now, if we were to remove this spring, which is what holds it in position, then we'd have a suicide pedal. We'll turn this into a suicide pedal for a minute just so we can demonstrate it. But this is also to dispel the idea that there's such a thing as a suicide shift. There is no such thing as a suicide shift. If you don't have this thing held in position with a spring or a clutch disc or whatever it uses, then that clutch pedal just floats and it is a suicide pedal, which means that if you're at an intersection and you've got your foot on the clutch, if your foot slips off, you take off. Hence the term suicide. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to take this rod off of here, which just means pulling a cotter pin out of there. I don't know if Mike can get in there or if my hands are in the way.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, I'm trying to get the cotter pin, and that I need to do with my hands and a light. And we'll get this cotter pin. Well, there we go. It's just a skinny little cotter pin. Skinny little cotter pin. Let's see. And we'll move this back here, and we'll get that in there. And we pull that thing right off of there.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Wish I could have gone in there a little better.
Well, I wish you could have too, but a little late on that. You want to show that now? You can see. Okay. Now, the reason we took that off of there is so we can lube the pin that it runs on and all that sort of thing, because the adjustment on this thing is pretty much fine. So I'm going to take that off of there. There we go. And there is the clutch rod. Now, when you look at this thing, this is, as everyone knows, my old bike. There are things about it that are very proper and things that are not. More things are not than are, because it's just an old bike. It's an unrestored old bike, and I just love it. And someday I might even take it apart completely and redo it. In the meantime, it just runs too well, and it just keeps running down the road at about any speed I pick. I've been through the motor a couple of times in the 30 years I've owned this thing. So, it's a good running motor, and I really do enjoy riding this bike. But to get back to the fact that some things aren't really the best they could be, there are a lot of guys out there that can look at this clutch pedal and tell you what year pedal it is. I can't do that. I don't know all those things backwards and forwards. So when you put all this stuff together, sometimes everything lines up, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you have to make it work because you don't necessarily have the exact year part you need. Anyway, so here is this spring. We're going to take that spring off for a minute. Just take it off. Then we'll take this thing and let's just put the rod back on it for a minute. Just for giggles. Okay? Okay, we're going to do that just like that. There we go. Okay. Now the reason I did that is so we can see that clutch work as a suicide pedal. Which means when you put your foot on it, you've disengaged the clutch.
Yep.
You take your foot off.
And away you go.
Away we go. Okay. But that spring holds it over center. So let's take this thing apart and lube it up. Now, we got a nut on the back there. And I'm going to take that nut off of there. See, there is no grease fitting for this. On the brake pedal, which is on the other side, there is a grease fitting for it. Okay, now this thing is getting loose. And I'm going to show the parts in it here in a second. I think I am. Okay. Oh yeah, it should come off with my fingers now. And it will. Here it comes. We can see the parts that are in here. This is pretty cool, I think. All right. Okay. Let me get a rag. Ah, there's one. There's one. Okay. Okay, here is the friction disc that's in here. And it is in beautiful shape. And it's working quite well. And here is the bracket where the clutch goes through, or the pedal goes through. What I want to do is lube this up a little bit. Don't want to get carried away because I don't want it ending up on that friction disc. You just want the grease on the shaft so that it goes really nice here. Okay. There it is. Ooh, nice and smooth. Okay. Now we're going to take this nice big washer here and we're going to put it right on there like that. And then there's that. Now let's have a look at that. Let's have a look. That's worth talking about. This is very, to me, this is very trippy, old-timey.
Yeah. What is that?
This is a spring. So when you tighten the nut, it tightens up the friction on that thing. You notice how the clutch stayed in place. Pardon?
Can we see it, please?
Yes. Sorry about that.
Flip it over. Awesome.
In other words, it goes on there thusly, and the tighter the nut, the tighter the spring.
No more friction, right?
Well, you got a friction plate in here. But we're going to put that right back on there. And, you know, I wiped it nice and clean and didn't put any more grease on it.
And I got a case of the yawns.
Well, don't go to sleep until we're done, okay? Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit out here on the points of this thing. I just love the design of these. They're things that really work well. Okay, that is now on there. And then there's this washer that goes on there next, which rides against that spring. Okay. There it is. And now we're going to put the nut back on there, because sometimes you feel like one. Okay. All right. It's going on there very well. And now we're going to see about tightening it up a little bit. This is a 7/8 wrench, in case anyone's wondering what size these are. I can't help it. I love this beautiful antique wrench. It was one of my dad's. He had quite a collection of them. Okay. Okay, now that's just kind of there, which is kind of fine. So I think what we'll do now is we're going to lube the ends of this spring. Let's see, now this one goes on this end, and this one goes on this end. Well, the thing that's important to me is, see, this thing's got a pretty big, nasty hook end on it. Okay, so let's put that hook to the inside so we don't scrape my boots on it. And there it is. Not very hard to... In fact, this thing had a big point on it. I think I machined off at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was gouging into my boot.
Yeah.
Everybody said, but that's a really rare part. I said, it's a really rare part that's missing the point now. There.
Yeah, it's missing the point.
Missing the irritation.
Well, it's pointless now.
Very well said. Yes. Definitely pointless. Anyway, so we're going to lube all this stuff up. Let's see. There was a Zerk on there. I forgot. There actually was a Zerk. There is a Zerk on there.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. And this, we'll clean this off. Put some nice fresh grease in it. I forgot there was a Zerk down there. I feel dumb. Well, you know. So we'll put this back on. And
Try to get in there. I can't.
well, you can do whatever you want. It's on. Just like that.
There it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let's see. We can put, I have a wave washer I used. Now it's really funny. Wave washers are not that common in this country. But this one measures out as 5/16, which means, or ½ inch, which means it's a 13 millimeter. In other words, if you go to your local hardware store and they have a nice big bolt selection and you're looking for wave washers, you may find them in the metric stuff rather than anywhere else. And wave washers were very, very common back in the, back before the 50s, 30s, 40s. I think Indian used them in their linkages and stuff like that. And I like them. I think they're pretty neat. I don't use them inside motors, but,
Yeah.
No, I've seen them experimented with inside motors.
Yeah.
And they work harden and disintegrate, which now you have a broken wave washer traveling through your motor.
Not good.
Not cool. So I do not use them inside a motor. There we go. And I do need a cotter pin that looks like that. That, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah.
It is now officially in there.
I'm going to see if I can get in there myself. Oh, I'm so close.
So near yet so far. How's that?
Oh, man, perfect.
Okay, now I'm going to just run that right up there. And that cotter pin is there. This is a very nice, smooth operating piece. Now, just for fun, just because I'm here, I think I want to take off the primary cover. And like I said, I did this quickly a while ago just so I could show it without wasting a bunch of time. I like to look at my primary belt about once a year. And I'm not kidding when I say that. All I want to do is know it's happy and I can close it right back up again. And that makes me real happy. Okay. So we're going to take this cover off, which goes like that. And really, now this bike has sat around a lot, so it did leak some oil out of the motor seal here. And it wasn't a lot, but it was down here. I just want to be honest about it. Other than wiping it off right down here on this lip, I didn't clean this at all.
Yep.
This is just what it looks like on any normal day. And there it is. And that is my belt drive. And I do love it. Now, the other thing I noticed the other day when I was riding my bike, riding this one, the clutch didn't seem quite as tight as I would like it. So, 1, 2, 3. I'll bet I'm happy with that.
Oh, that's it?
That was it.
Wow.
Now here is the clutch disengaged, and here it is re-engaged.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can put the primary cover back on it. As long as I'm here,
Yes.
I could lube my kickstand.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's got more than enough lube on it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what I do want to do is, this is where the clutch pedal rests when the whole thing is together. It goes right down there. This disengages the clutch. This engages it. Now I showed that it would hold in position. Now, my friend Huggy Bear, who just passed in the last few weeks, took me aside about 40 years ago. 40 years ago, 20? Yeah, it was about 40 years ago. And he was letting me use, he had an Indian on his showroom floor. It was a 47 Chief. Real wild old Indian. I really was impressed with it. And he said, yeah, you can borrow it, as long as you leave me your bike. So I did. And I took that Indian and I went out cruising around Ojai and all sorts of parts unknown. And of course I wasn't acting right, but I did take the bike out and have a lot of fun with it. And one of the things he told me, because it had a jockey shift, but it had a rocker clutch on it. And he said, okay, you know how to use it. Don't ever, ever trust it. And so I say that to you. Okay, now I can tighten this up, which is working real well. Here we go. I'm going to tighten it up. Now what I'm doing is I'm crushing that spring. That spring that we just had apart. There. No, still need more. Making me wonder if something's falling apart here. Let me see here, yeah.
What's falling apart?
I'd say this nut's no good.
Oh.
Either the nut or the shaft.
Oh boy.
Well, that's all right. It's just I'd rather it do it now.
Yes, sir.
Because I probably got one in the parts room. But something is... I don't know if it's the shaft or the nut. But...
It's no bueno.
it's no bueno. It appears to be the nut. So I'm not going to go look for one now. But you can see the threads in there just about gone. So I will find another one and put it on. I don't know what else we have to show. This is all I wanted to show, really. We did lube that pedal. We did lube the spring. We've got all of that stuff. Okay, that's the clutch itself. That's okay. Sorry, can't lube anything in there.
Okay.
So that's as it is, and boy, it looks good too. So I'll put this back together as soon as I find a nut for that clutch pedal, and we will tighten it so that it will stay in position when I've disengaged it, but you don't ever trust it. In other words, if you take your foot off of it and that thing should decide to engage, you will be in the middle of an intersection before you got a chance to do anything about it. So don't ever trust one. So other than that, I think that's about it for now. The big thing that's coming up is, of course, Born Free is the 24th and 25th of June. And that's in Santiago Canyon at, what's the name of the lake?
Lake Irvine.
Irvine Lake. It's never Lake Irvine, it's always Irvine Lake. Bass-ackwards kid. Anyway, it's Irvine Lake. And that's where Born Free is going to be this year, which is where it normally is. And that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure there will be a lot of people and a lot of products and a lot of bikes, and it's just a great, great show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, if anyone's interested in a t-shirt or a hat, by all means, go to our website, which is pacificmike.com, where you can order those. And I think that's about all we need to talk about other than that. There's a good picture of Baby Doll there Mike's showing right now on our newest shirt. And of course, our baseball cap.
That's embroidered.
And that is actually embroidered. It's not printed. It's embroidered in that bright blue, which I think is really pretty. Anyway, So until next time, we'll see you out on the road.